studios located at 2500 Willis Avenue, Austin, Texas. KVRX broadcasts at 3000 watts and 91.7 megahertz every weekday from 7 p.m. to 9 a.m. and on weekends from 10 p.m. to 9 a.m. KVRX shares its frequency with KOOP Radio. KVRX also streams online 24/7. KVRX values continued support and funding from listeners like you. Donations may be sent out to the University of Texas and sent to KVRX Student Radio, P.O. Box D, Austin, Texas 78713-7209, or online at kvrx.org. KVRX would like to remind its listeners that all content expressed during programming does not necessarily reflect the viewers of KVRX, its DJs, underwriters, or the University of Texas at Austin. KVRX, your Texas Independent Music Authority. You are listening to KVRX 91.7 Austin Radio. This hour is brought to you by Recruiter.com. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mark Skoll. I'm back at it again from 7 to 7:50, and 7:50 you'll get Reese and Brooks on the call for the Lake Travis High School basketball game tonight. Well, I'm glad to be back again, second week in a row. If you guys don't remember, I'm the Chicago guy. My parents were raised in Chicago, and they raised me as Chicago fans, so I know this is Texas, but I'm going to be talking Chicago sports. All right, so most recently in Chicago sports, the Bulls played the Los Angeles Lakers last night in LA, and the Bulls lost in overtime, I believe 123 to 118. For some reason, and then the game prior, the Bulls came off of a huge win against Golden State, the team who had won 19 games in a row at home, and the Bulls have the third best road record in the NBA. For some reason, the Bulls always played to their competition. Golden State, they played amazing. They gave them a great game. The Los Angeles Lakers have like the fourth worst record in the NBA. And it's on the road, which the Bulls have been good on the road this year. And the Bulls were awful last night. They let guys like second round draft pick Jordan Clarkson run all over the court on him. Jordan Clarkson, the point guard, second round draft pick, had 18 points against the Bulls last night. 18 points from a second round draft pick, and this is supposed to be a veteran Bulls team. I understand it's on the road. It's the Staples Center. It's like one of the best arenas in professional basketball. But this is the Los Angeles Lakers. This isn't the Los Angeles Lakers with Kobe and Shaq or with Pau Gasol and Andrew Bynum. These are the Kobe-less Lakers. When you go face the Kobe-less Lakers in LA or wherever you face them, you got to come up with a win. And when you let guys like Jordan Clarkson score 18 points and Wayne Ellington, like, has anyone actually ever heard of these guys? Like, and then Robert Sacre, Carlos Boozer Jr. The Bulls, I don't know what's up with the Bulls. They're an up and down roller coaster. And then you look at the stat sheet. Derrick Rose, I don't know what's up with Derrick Rose. He went 7 for 26 last night. If you're taking 26 shots, you got to make at least 10 of those. Missing 19 shots, that just shows that you're either not good enough or you're just taking bad shots. He finished with 17 points, which is pretty good. But when you're taking 26 shots, you should be making at least 25 points a game. Jimmy Butler only took 17 shots. And he had 35 points, 9 for 17, 35 points, and 16 for 18 from the free throw line. Joakim Noah had another great game, almost a triple-double, 17 rebounds, 9 points, 9 assists. And Pau Gasol, homecoming for Pau Gasol to LA, finished 8 for 14, 20 points, 10 rebounds, double-double, the double-double machine. I just don't understand why the Bulls have been playing so badly, or inconsistent to say the least. the previous years, they were the best defensive team in the NBA, without a question, under Tibbs. Now, they're bottom half. I just don't understand what's their thinking, what's going on in their heads. I know Tibbs has got to be tearing all the hair off of his head, or at least all the hair that he has left. I mean, he always looks frustrated on the sideline. It's not good. And then Derrick Rose, he goes out and has the game of his life, or at least the finish of his life against Golden State, and then he shoots 7 for 26 from the field against the Lakers. I mean, the Bulls are in the East, so hope is not lost, but they gotta get it together. Everyone always says the Bulls are contenders, but I just don't understand how they're contenders when they can't beat the bad teams. You got to beat the bad teams in order to beat the good teams. I mean, the Bulls, they beat San Antonio, they beat Dallas, and then they beat Golden State, all on the road. And then they can't beat the Lakers on the road, and then they lose to Miami at home. 2 teams under 500, both of them probably not playoff teams. The Lakers are definitely not. Miami might because they're in the East, but I just don't get it. It's painful to watch them. And winning the double overtime, they made a comeback, but it's just painful to watch. All right. Well, Derrick Rose, like I said, he's like the Bulls, has been an up and down roller coaster all season. One night, he looks like the MVP. No one can stop him. And the next night, he looks like a 7 for 26 guy shooting from the field. He's been playing nothing close to his MVP form, but like against Golden State, he had a career high. He missed 20 shots against Golden State. That's a ton. 13 for 33 with 30 points. 30 points is a lot. But then he had a career high 11 turnovers, and then he only had 1 assist, and that was to Kirk Heinrich with less than 10 seconds left in the game. You can't be playing like that. I think Derrick Rose he's kind of hurting the Bulls a little bit. He's got to start playing better. I know he's got the confidence, which is good. And that's what the Bulls need. They need a guy with confidence. You saw him nail a long 2-point jumper to give the Bulls the lead in overtime and ultimately gives the Bulls the win. Even after airballing one shot and bricking the next one. So he has got the confidence. He's just got to knock down the shots more consistently. And then Derrick Rose said after the game against Golden State, he says, "A player like myself, I want those moments. I want that shot. My teammates gave me the ball to take the shot, and it looks good on the resume. I'm not running away from those shots. I'm not turning them down. If anything, my teammates are going to give me the ball to take the shot, so that's a good feeling." And as much as Derrick Rose has been inconsistent, like who else are you going to give the ball to? I mean, I understand Powell was probably a good option, but I wouldn't want Joakim taking the shot. Maybe Jimmy Butler. Well, definitely Jimmy Butler taking the shot. I'd rather have Jimmy Butler taking the shot than Derrick Rose, because Jimmy Butler will make his free throws and he'll have a better chance at making the shot. But Jimmy Butler has been struggling lately, so you never know, even though he got 35 last night. The Bulls, I don't know what's up with them. They beat the best team in the NBA one night, and then they lose to arguably the worst team in the NBA the next. That doesn't even make sense. All right, I'll be right back. I'm going to kick it to some promos, so I'll be right back.
What I was doing?
Shut up.
Please don't tell me to shut up.
These are basically a bunch of miserable, angry people.
That may sound flippant and patronizing in Greece, but not here in the United States. Sean Hannity here. I am pro-life. You are pro-life. We believe that life is...
Feel like you're hearing everyone's voice but your own? Don't blame the media. Be the media. Visit the Austin Independent Media Center at austin.indiemedia.org. And read, write, produce, and publish your own local news and commentary. And remember, make media, make trouble.
I've found it!
It's beautiful.
Behold, the rarest jewel of the World Wide Web, KVRX.org.
Just look at all those blogs.
And album reviews.
Those upcoming events and local live performances.
Not to mention the show playlists.
And all that streaming.
Indeed, it is beyond even our wildest dreams. www.kvrx.org. The Austin Chronicle's Best of Austin ballot is back. The Chronicle is celebrating 24 years of the Best of ballot, and voting is now open once again to vote what's best in Austin. With over 150 categories, everything is covered from Best Skyscraper and Romantic Escape to Best Local App and Restaurant of the Year. You can fill out a Best of Austin ballot found in the Austin Chronicle, or you can cast your vote online at austinchronicle.com. The deadline for voting is July 26th.
And we're back. Mark Skoll here for KVRX Radio. And we're talking Chicago Bulls right now. The Bulls lost to the Lakers 123 to 118 last night after defeating Golden State earlier this week at Golden State. I'm almost done talking about the Bulls, but I just want to say when the Bulls... The Bulls, I don't know what's up with their defense, too. There's always one guy on the opposing team who always, goes off. Like you saw against Golden State. Klay Thompson was the guy who went off, and they were able to shut everyone else down. And then last night against L.A., Jordan Hill couldn't miss a shot. 11 for 22 with 26 points. I felt like he was making everything. He was unstoppable. The former Defensive Player of the Year couldn't stop him. Pau Gasol couldn't stop him. All I know is that the Bulls need to clean up their act if they want to go far in the postseason, because the Atlanta Hawks aren't slowing down anytime soon. The Toronto Raptors are still good, and the Wizards always have the Bulls number. So the Bulls play the Suns tonight in Phoenix. If the Bulls can come out with a road win there, that would be pretty big. But the Bulls need to become more consistent. And the thing the Bulls is that they always beat the better teams. And Phoenix is a good team, so maybe the Bulls can actually win this one tonight. All right, so recently I published an article on ProFootballSpot.com stating that the Chicago Bears should pursue Ndamukong Suh. For those of you who don't know who Ndamukong Suh is, well, he's been a defensive tackle for the Detroit Lions for the past few years. He's one of the best defenders in the game, but he's known as a dirty player. And many Bears fans don't want Suh because he's a dirty player. Suh has been known to step on people's feet, and including Aaron Rodgers, quarterback Aaron Rodgers of the Green Bay Packers, step on their feet blindly because he didn't realize, because it was too cold. And then he kicks Matt Schaub when he was the quarterback of the Houston Texans, or he tried to kick him in the groin area. And then there's been countless times where he's stepped on other people's legs. Many people might not like Suh, but what the Bears need is someone exactly like him. When you think of the Bears defense, you think of a nasty and vicious unit that will literally rip the other team into pieces. The 85 Bears, the 2006 Bears defense. Even the 2012 Bears defense with the last year under Lovey. That's what you think of defense. What the Bears have been doing lately has been nothing even remotely close to that. The Bears are coming off two of the worst defensive seasons ever in Chicago Bears history, giving up 6,033 yards of total offense to the opposing teams this season. And the only team that allowed more points scored than them against them was the Oakland Raiders. And you don't want to be compared to the Oakland Raiders. So that's just bad. It's no secret that the Bears need to fix their problems on the defensive side of the ball. So everyone's saying the Bears need to rebuild through the draft. It's going to take a lot of time, but why not rebuild through free agency? Ndamukong Suh is out there. Yes, he's dirty. Yes, he's mean. Yes, he's probably Not a very nice guy, but he knows how to play football. He knows how to tackle guys. He knows how to not give up rushing yards to the opposing team. If the Bears can get a guy like that, and I think that they can, that'd be huge. The only thing that's bad about signing Sue, besides his bad attitude and his bad actions, is that it would be a lot against the cap space. And when you have a quarterback like Jay Cutler, who's counting who knows how many millions of dollars against the cap, that might be tough to get into Ndamukong Suh because then you can't get anyone else. But then I look at who else is available. Who's going to help? Ndamukong Suh would provide an instant need. He would be perfect. And if the Bears switch to a 3-4, that'd be good too. Under Vic Fangio, he'd definitely thrive. And what's crazy is that according to reports, Ndamukong Suh is actually interested in joining the Chicago Bears team. Willie Young, actually, he's a current defensive end for the Chicago Bears. He led the team in sacks this season. Played with Suh in Detroit. And he even said that he would try to recruit Suh to the Bears this summer, to the Windy City. He said, Willie Young said, I could see myself recruiting him. It just depends on, obviously, it's going to come down to a business standpoint for him in particular. But at the end of the day, we've got some good guys here right now. He could come and join me. He could come and join what we're about to build over here in Chicago. We would appreciate it. We would like to have him. I mean, Willie Young's recruiting him. Apparently he wants to go there. I'm sure Ryan Pace wouldn't mind having him there. General Manager Ryan Pace. I can definitely see it happening. The only reason why I don't see it happening is because the Bears are really bad right now. They need help on defense. Everyone ridicules the Bears offense. But I think they always ridicule the Bears offense and defense, but I don't think they need to ridicule the Bears offense as much as they need to ridicule the defense. When the defense gives up 30-plus points a game, it's going to be really hard for even Peyton Manning to outscore what the defense hold the defense puts them in. So I definitely think defense is the main priority. You got to go defense in the draft. I think maybe safety Landon Collins out of Alabama, maybe Shaq Thompson out of Washington. The Bulls need help. The Bears need help wherever they can get it. Defense, special teams. They need help. And I think Suh would be one of the best guys to help them. He definitely provide an immediate impact. And the Bears might have a good defense because it starts up front. It starts up front and works its way back. And if you get a guy like Suh up front, and then you get Jared Allen, Willie Young on the sides, a healthy Lamar Houston, that's going to be and Stephen Paya, if they re-sign Stephen Paya, that's going to be a really tough defensive line. But then you got to the only problem is the Bears need help at linebacker, at safety, at cornerback. They need help everywhere. But after the hiring of John Fox and Vic Fangio and Adam Gase, all those guys, a bunch of Bears players who said they wanted to leave want to come back now. It shows that this group is more respected. And then you see guys like Brian Urlacher saying that there's two stories. Brian Urlacher completely bashed former Bears GM Phil Emery. He stated that in regards to Emery, he said, I just didn't get along. I didn't like the way he handled my situation or other situations around there with players. I didn't like the way he acted sometimes. I just didn't feel comfortable being in the building when he was around. I'm a huge fan of the McCaskies. I've always said that, never quit saying that. I'm going to keep saying it, but there's one guy that I had a problem with, and he happened to be the guy that was everyone's boss. Urlacher had a lot of problems with Phil Emery during his contract negotiations, and apparently Phil Emery was really rude with him. And Phil Emery was a new GM with the Bears. He had no idea what Brian Urlacher. I mean, he knew what he had done for them just because he's been there. He's been the leader there for a decade. But Phil Emery didn't actually know Brian Urlacher and what all the players meant to him. He just knew he was a leader. But Brian Urlacher, he stated, if Phil Emery came to me and said, "Hey man, look, we don't think you're the same," which he wasn't the same player. After my knee got hurt, this is Brian Urlacher talking. After my knee got hurt, I was a little bit slower and older. I agree, but I still want to play. I feel like I could have played with another year of rehab on my knee. I probably could have played 1 or 2 more years. And he said, if Phil Emery would have said, "Hey man, you're not the same player. You know that. We know that. But we still want you here. You're a good leader. Blah, blah, blah. You're a team guy. This, that. But we can't pay you more than this. But we want you here. Can you do it?" And Brian Urlacher said, "Yeah, I would have done it." But Phil Emery gave him this option. He said, "This is your offer. Take it or leave it. As soon as you make your decision, we're going to announce it on Twitter." I know Brian Urlacher can be a little tough on a bunch of people, but that sounds pretty rough for what he had to deal with. A guy who's been a leader, he's been the face of the franchise for decades, and he's probably going to be definitely a future Hall of Famer, probably one of the best Bears of all time. And Phil Emery comes in and treats a guy like that, treats a guy like Brian like that. That's horrible. And that shows, I mean, I wish I would have known that 2 years ago and I wouldn't have backed up Phil Emery all this time, because it obviously shows Phil Emery had no idea what he was talking about. Yeah, Brian Urlacher was past his time. Obviously, he was slow getting out of his reads and everything, but Brian Urlacher was a legend for Chicago, and you don't treat someone who's done all that he's done for the city, for the team, for the McCaskey family. You don't treat someone like that. That's just ridiculous. And Brian Urlacher has come out and said that he thinks the Bears made a great hire with John Fox. And I think so too. And then recently in the news, not like it's anything big, but Jay Feely, who came in the season, kicker Jay Feely, came in during the season and said, and he took Robbie Gould's spot while Robbie Gould was injured. And he thinks that he questioned the leadership of Jay Cutler and Mark Trestman. When asked if he thought Jay Cutler was a leader, or he could develop into the club's answer at the position at quarterback, Jay Feely said, "Not as a leader, Cutler, no. That's not who he is. You're going to have a vacuum there. So you have to know that as a general manager or a head coach, hey, we're not going to have leadership from that position, so we've really got to have other guys that are going to step up and are going to be our verbal leaders." And then Feely's short time in Chicago, he could obviously tell that Cutler wasn't a great leader. And I don't think he is either. I don't think he shows enough optimism like Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers or people like that. I think he's too pessimistic. And when you're a leader, you have to have good body language. And Cutler does not display any good body language on any night at any event. And then in regards to Trestman, Feely had to say, I think with Mark Trestman, he was a little awkward when he spoke. So we really didn't connect with guys. You can have that as a coach if you have a strong locker room. If you don't have leaders in the locker room and you don't have a coach who really inspires, then you end up having a losing season. A lot of fans ridiculed Feely for all these comments, saying that he joined the team when the season was already ruined. But what he said actually makes sense. Like, you see, like all Mark Trestman's press conferences, he's always weird and shy and all this. And he didn't really seem like he cared as much. He was just trying to be the nice guy. And I think Feely hit it right on the nail. I think he got it right with both Jay Cutler and Mark Trestman. Jay Cutler is not a leader. He's not a verbal leader. He's just a guy who goes and throws the football. And which stinks is that the quarterback position, you're supposed to get a leader out of the quarterback position. You're going to have to get somewhere else with guys like Lance Briggs or Jared Allen or Matt Forte. Matt Forte is too quiet, though. Brandon Marshall's always loud. They need a leader somewhere, and I don't know where they're going to get it. Maybe Kyle Long, offensive guard Kyle Long. I think the Bears just have too many personalities on their team. They got guys like Marshall, who's always going crazy after games. Martellus Bennett, who's just the black unicorn who just says all this random stuff. I think the Bears need a leader, and I think they're getting that now out of their head coach, John Fox. I think they're going to have, I'm not going to say they're going to have a playoff season, but I think they're definitely going to be improved. And I think the Bears are going to end up sticking with Cutler, but I don't think Cutler's going to have as bad of a season as he did this year. I mean, if you look at the stats, 28 touchdowns, that's pretty good compared to a lot of NFL QBs, but then the league high 18 interceptions and then 6 fumbles. You got to do better than that. Jay Cutler, the question with Jay Cutler is just not how many touchdowns he's going to throw, it's just how many turnovers he's going to have. Because when he has a bunch of turnovers, the Bears, there's no way the Bears are going to win with the defense they had the last 2 years. If he turns the ball over, even if he doesn't turn the ball over, the chances of them winning the game are still slim. So if he turns the ball over like 1 or 2 times, there's no chance the Bears win. But now with John Fox, they get a guy who knows what he's talking about. He's been there. He's been in the Super Bowl twice. He's been in the playoffs the last 4 seasons. You have a guy with experience. The thing about Mark Trestman is he's a guy from the Canadian Football League. You know when you hire a guy from the Canadian Football League that you've gone wrong. I mean, he's in the Canadian Football League for a reason. It's because he couldn't get a gig in the NFL. I think Phil Emery just didn't know what he was doing. He did make some good acquisitions with Alshon, but he's just made so many bad decisions, and especially with guys like Brian Urlacher and then hiring Mark Trestman. I just don't know if he was like all about it. I think he wasn't really respectful. And now they got a guy like Ryan Pace, who's general manager Ryan Pace, who's making the most of his opportunity, hiring the best guys available. So I think the Bears are in the right spot right now. They're going to be good for a while, I think. Maybe not right away, but they'll be good. All right, this portion of KVRX is underwritten by Recruiter.com, a new kind of recruiting company available at 888-925-7010. You can focus on your business and let Recruiter.com do the hard work in finding your next hire. More information on how to help your business grow is available online at Recruiter.com or by phone at 888-925-7010. KVRX would like to thank Recruiter.com for making student radio count. All right, so more talk about football. For those of you who didn't know, Super Bowl Sunday is this Sunday. The Seattle Seahawks will be taking on the New England Patriots in Glendale, Arizona. And I have no idea who's going to win, who to go for, or anything. The Patriots. The Patriots right now are 1-point favorites to beat the Seahawks. But I think this game could easily go either way. I mean, the 1-point favorites is not really much of a favorite. I think that's just, it doesn't really matter what the spread is because it could go either way easily. The only reason, the team who I'm going for is probably the Seahawks, because this whole Deflategate thing, and I just feel like the Patriots had an easy trip to the Super Bowl, and I guess the Seahawks did too, having to face a 7-9 Carolina team, but they had to go through Green Bay. But New England, I didn't think Indianapolis was that great, and you saw that. I don't think the deflated footballs had anything to do, would have affected the outcome in any way. I think the Colts would have got killed anyways. But they did beat the tough Baltimore Ravens team. But the Seahawks, I can't see anyone stopping the Seahawks. The Seahawks, or getting by the Seahawks defense. Well, the Seahawks defense is injured right now. You see guys like Earl Thomas is hurt. Richard Sherman is hurt. And Richard Sherman might be expecting the birth of his newborn baby on Sunday. So he might not even play in the game. I just think I'm gonna pick the Seahawks because I think they just have a better overall team. I think the Patriots defense is really good, but I think the Seahawks defense is better. I think Marshawn Lynch is better than LeGarrette Blount. And with a defense like the Seahawks defense, I don't see Tom Brady thriving like he's been. And I see Russell Wilson having a better chance to pick apart the Patriots defense. And I feel like Russell Wilson's definitely going to have a better game after playing really badly in the NFC Championship game against the Packers. I feel like Russell Wilson's going to be like, that was unacceptable. I need to come out and play my butt off in this championship game. And I think he'll do a good job. I think Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks will end up winning the Super Bowl. And then other news about the Super Bowl and Media Day, Marshawn Lynch. For those of you who don't know what Marshawn Lynch has done this past week, he's gone to Media Day and he's sat at the podium for 5 minutes, 2 separate days. And on the first day, he repeated the phrase, "I'm just here so I won't get fined." And then on the next day, he repeated for 5 minutes, "You guys know why I'm here. You guys know why I'm here. You guys know why I'm here." A lot of people say, leave Marshawn Lynch alone. He can do whatever he wants, freedom of speech, all that stuff. But Marshawn, come on, man. It's the media. You're only responsible to talk to him for 5 minutes. Why don't you just talk to him? They want to get stories out. They want to... I mean, I know I'm part of the media too, but don't do that, man. I mean, it's funny. It's really funny what he's done. But I think it's also really disrespectful. You look at guys like Russell Wilson and Richard Sherman who love talking to media, and then you got guys like Marshawn Lynch who don't even want to. It's just, I don't know what to think of it. I think Marshawn Lynch, he shouldn't be doing that. It's just disrespectful. And these are all people who admire what he does. He's a great running back, probably one of the best in the league, by far one of the best running backs in the league. And you do stuff like that. It's just disrespectful. All right, so more NFL talk. So the NFL awards will be announced soon. So here are my picks. For MVP, there's been a lot of speculation. Like, oh, who is it? J.J. Watt of the Houston Texans, Aaron Rodgers of the Green Bay Packers, or Andrew Luck of the Indianapolis Colts. Maybe even Tony Romo or DeMarco Murray. I think the obvious answer is Aaron Rodgers, and I'm a Bears fan. Aaron Rodgers had 38 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. I mean, that plus-minus ratio is crazy. Andrew Luck, yes, he had a great year. The Colts would be nothing without Andrew Luck. That's a given. But Andrew Luck also turns the ball over a lot, too. And Andrew Luck would get killed in a bunch of games, and Aaron Rodgers wouldn't. Aaron Rodgers' team was way better than Andrew Luck's team. And Aaron Rodgers, everyone says, oh, if the Colts didn't have Andrew Luck, they would be nothing. Well, what would the Packers be? I mean, the Packers' defense wasn't that great. Yes, they have superstar wide receivers like Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb, but without Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball, are they going to be good? I mean, Matt Flynn Is Matt Flynn the guy? Would the Matt Flynn win 12 games in a season and take him to the NFC Championship? No. Aaron Rodgers, I mean, people will also, a lot of Texas people will say, oh, J.J. Watt's the clear MVP. He had 22.5 sacks. He had 20 sacks in 2 straight seasons, at least 20 sacks in 2 straight seasons. He had countless touchdowns, a pick six, a fumble recovery for a touchdown. He caught touchdowns. Yeah, J.J. Watt did do all that stuff, but 20 sacks in consecutive seasons doesn't count for one season. The MVP is awarded for one season, not 2. So what happened last year doesn't matter. It's what happened this year. And guess what? The Texans didn't make the playoffs. If the Texans made the playoffs and they were like in the AFC Championship game, I mean, yeah, J.J. Watt could win the MVP. I mean, he's definitely playing on an MVP level, but the fact that he didn't make the playoffs, it's just you can't win the MVP if you don't make the playoffs. It's just that simple. It shows that you really, I mean, if you took J.J. Watt away from the Texans, would they still have the same record that they have? Probably. So it shows, I mean, he's a great player, really good player, probably the best defensive player in my generation. But I don't think he's the MVP. I think it's obviously Aaron Rodgers. And I don't think you can really question that. 38 touchdowns, 5 turnovers. I know how valuable not turning the ball over is too. I've seen Jay Cutler for the past 6 years of my life as quarterback for the Chicago Bears. He turns the ball over the most out of anybody. I would kill for a guy like Aaron Rodgers. Yes, I would kill for a guy like J.J. Watt, but who would you rather have? A quarterback who throws for 38 touchdowns and 5 interceptions for a season, or just a defensive end who had 20-plus sacks and a couple of touchdowns? I think the answer is simple. You want a quarterback who can play well, because as much as people say defenses win championships, you never see a team without an elite quarterback in the Super Bowl. It's just that simple. All right, so I've got about 12 minutes left on the show, and I want to get back to some Chicago stuff. Talk some Cubs. Recently, former Cub, legendary Cub, Ernie Banks died at the age of 83. And since the Wrigley Field is under construction, they moved Billy Mays' statue somewhere where people can commemorate him still, even though it's not at Wrigley Field anymore. Billy Williams, former Cub great, he said, "You don't think it's real until you see the casket. He's a person that left lasting memories in Chicago because he met so many people. If he met someone 2 or 3 years before, he'd still remember them." Senator Dick Durbin said, "I lost a friend. Chicago lost one of its greatest. I'm glad he's receiving this tribute today." Very few athletes got honored with presidential medals, but Ernie was not only a great ball player, but a great American. Unfortunately, I was unable to live during the time of Ernie Banks' playing career. I was not born until 1995. And my dad, who was born in 1965, didn't have the privilege of watching him either. He was before his time. But his impact on Cubs fans everywhere has been huge. I always have known him as Mr. Cub. He's always been the ideal Cub, the guy you want to be. Yes, there's guys like Ryan Sandberg, Ron Santo, Greg Maddux, Billy Williams, Fergie Jenkins, Lou Brock. But Ernie Banks was Mr. Cub, and his nickname suits him well. He was the best player to ever put on a Cubs uniform. He was the poster boy for the lovable losers. Just watching him, you could tell he was the happiest baseball player ever. This is a rare opportunity to say goodbye. That was by Terry Lavery, a Cubs fan. For those of you who don't know Ernie Banks that well. He left a lasting impression on the Cubs organization, and his famous quote is, "It's a beautiful day for some baseball. Let's play too." He was a guy who loved the game, appreciated the fans, appreciated the city, and he will certainly be missed. I'm not going to say Ernie Banks dying wasn't disappointing, but this could help the Cubs. I know Ernie Banks definitely wanted to see a World Series title in his lifetime, but the Cubs could dedicate this season in Ernie Banks' memory. And if they get a whole team playing for Ernie Banks, this team could go far. I'm not saying, a lot of people are already saying that the Cubs are going to win the World Series, that they're the best. They have like 12-1 odds of winning the World Series. I'm not going to say that. But I think they're on the right track. You look at guys like John Lester. You bring in John Lester. You have Jorge Soler, Chris Bryant coming up, Addison Russell, Javier Baez. This team, this lineup is going to be stacked from bottom to top to bottom. The pitchers are all good. Kyle Hendricks, John Lester, Jason Hamill, Jake Arrieta. There's a lot to like about this team, and you get Joe Madden. I'm not gonna say they're gonna be in the playoffs this year. I think they need time to develop. They definitely need time to develop. You see, it's basically once they move up the guys who are in the minor leagues like Addison Russell and Chris Bryant, and they develop in the major leagues, then we can start to say maybe they'll make the playoffs. But if you look at it, it's like this: the Cubs are the same team from last year, except you replace Jeff Samardzija, who's now with the Chicago White Sox, with John Lester. Is John Lester that much better than Jeff Samardzija? No. I mean, he's definitely better than Jeff Samardzija, but is he better? Is he that much better? Is he like a Clayton Kershaw? No, he's not. He's nowhere close to Clayton Kershaw. So I'm not going to say John Lester's the answer. I think the answer for the Cubs has been Theo Epstein this whole time. Theo Epstein has brought in all these guys. He's made all the right moves. It's been a tough couple of years. Really tough for a Cubs fan. But now things are starting to mold together. The team is going to be, I'm not going to say they're going to be great this year. By no means. But 2-3 years down the line, they'll definitely be in contention for the World Series trophy. My sports marketing professor, he always bashes on Cubs fans. Every class period, he's always like, "Yeah, Cubs fans are so loyal. They've been dedicated to a losing team for the past 106 years." I mean, they have been. The Cubs fans are probably the most loyal fans in the game, for any sport. Wrigley Field will be packed on a summer day if the team has won 100 games or if they've lost 100 games. They'll be there. They'll be cheering on the good old Cubbies. And I think Theo Epstein, president of baseball operations, is giving the fans a reason to be really excited. Like I said, I don't think the Cubs are going to make the playoffs next year, but they definitely have a shot at being one of the top teams in the division. And then they'll definitely make the playoffs 2-3 years down the road for sure. If everyone develops properly. Fingers crossed. Knock on wood. So there's nothing to be pessimistic about to be Cubs fans right now. You got to be excited about the future, excited where things are going. I think it's going to be a fun year for Cubs fans to see how everything. This is going to be a transition year to see where everything goes, what happens with everything. Okay, back to the Bears. Recently, Charles Peanut Tillman, Peanut Punch, did an interview with Chicago sports writer Michael C. Wright. For those of you who don't know, Charles Tillman, he's been a Chicago Bears cornerback for a long time. He never was really recognized till a couple of years ago too. He made the Pro Bowl for his first time, but he's always been a solid cornerback. But the time is dwindling down, and it's almost time for him to call it quits. And Michael Wright, and he left this season. He left two seasons ago for an injury. He left the season early due to injury, and then last season he was injured in the San Francisco game in Week 2. Do I think the Bears should sign him? Yeah. I think he's a leader. I think if healthy, he's probably one of the better cornerbacks in the league. He's not as explosive as guys like Darrelle Revis or Richard Sherman, but he's with his words, but he's explosive with his game for sure. And then when asked if he would like to return to the Chicago Bears for the 2015 season, he said, "Oh yeah, most definitely. I would love to be back in Chicago, but that's not up to me. That's up to new general manager. His name is Ryan Pace, so that's up to him and Coach Fox." And then when asked if Cutler could be a success for the Chicago Bears, Tillman said, "I think he can be a success for Chicago, but I think ultimately that's up to him and what he wants to do." Charles Tillman's a great guy, but he needs to wake up a little bit. Cutler, maybe Cutler needs to wake up. Cutler has all the talent. He's got the arm strength. He's got all the talent around him too. He just needs to wake up and become a great leader. If he doesn't become a good leader, there's no way they're going to win a Super Bowl under Cutler, or maybe even a playoff game, or maybe even get to the playoffs. I think ultimately Peanut was right with the statement. It's up to Cutler. And if Cutler wants to win, he needs to wake up. And Cutler has underachieved his entire career. He has so much. It's a thing called potential. Potential means that you haven't done anything yet. You have the potential to be good, but you didn't do anything. That's something that's a word you can use to describe Jay Cutler. He's got all the talent, he's got all the weapons, he's got all the arm strength. He needs to wake up. He needs someone to yell in his face and tell him, "Listen, if you want to win, you got to start acting better. You've got all the players around you, you've got everything. And you act like this, you have this kind of body language." And I think John Fox is the right guy for the job. All right, so I have about 20 seconds left before I kick it off to Brooks and Reese for their game between Lake Travis and Austin High School. So I'd like to thank you guys for having me on again tonight. It's been great. Hope to see you guys next week. And hopefully something interesting happens with the Bulls, Bears, or Cubs, Blackhawks, anything. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Good night. Have a safe weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Good night. Some promos, so I'll be right back.
What I was doing?
Shut up.
Please don't tell me to shut up.
These are basically a bunch of miserable, angry people.
That may sound flippant and patronizing in Greece, but not here in the United States. Sean Hannity here. I am pro-life. You are pro-life. We believe that life is...
Feel like you're hearing everyone's voice but your own? Don't blame the media, be the media. Visit the Austin Independent Media Center at austin.indiemedia.org and read, write, produce, and publish your own local news and commentary. And remember, make media, make trouble.
I've found it!
It's beautiful.
Behold, the rarest jewel of the World Wide Web, KVRX.org.
Just look at all those blogs,
And album reviews.
those upcoming events and local live performances,
Not to mention the show playlists.
and all that streaming.
Indeed, it is beyond even our wildest dreams. www.kvrx.org. The Austin Chronicle's Best of Austin ballot is back. The Chronicle is celebrating 24 years of the Best of ballot, and voting is now open once again to vote what's best in Austin. With over 150 categories, everything is covered from Best Skyscraper and Romantic Escape to Best Local App and Restaurant of the Year. You can fill out a Best of Austin ballot found in the Austin Chronicle, or you can cast your vote online at austinchronicle.com. The deadline for voting is July 26th.